Welcome back to CryptosRUs. I am George. We're all George. So, I know today is a little hairy. The Dow is down 900 points and Bitcoin sees a bit more weakness. However, I do think there's something going on and it involves Elon and Tesla. I believe there is a hidden plan for Bitcoin that's coming up this week. Yes, this week, and it'll lead to next week. So I'm going to connect the dots for you guys and talk about what this hidden plan may be and how it can affect Bitcoin and the entire market. So thanks for tuning in. As always, smash up the like, subscribe to the channel, 2 streams every day, 11:30 and 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So make sure you hit that notification bell and follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and check out all the latest articles on CryptosRUs.com. All right, guys, welcome. There's there was several major events that I talked about last night in regards to this week, right? And one of the things is, of course, the market, the broader market, and it is not doing well today. When the Dow is down 900 points, NASDAQ down 200 something points, when the market sneezes, it does have effect on everything else. And this morning, crypto is definitely seeing it. Although, relatively speaking, with this, and plus there was a lot of fears about, Grayscale unlocking, which I told you happened this weekend. And I said, okay, we're going to see effects today, right? That's when the market opens. And Grayscale unlocking basically has no effect on Bitcoin right now. I've been talking, in fact, a lot of people have been emailing me about Grayscale and GBTC and how the unlocking could or could not affect Bitcoin. And everyone is basically saying the same thing, that it has no effect. The only effect it could have is when Grayscale Bitcoin Trust converts to an ETF and the possibility of redemption. Only then will actually physical Bitcoins be possibly sold. Possibly. Because that redemption thing is still kind of iffy. And whether or not, by then, when an ETF gets approved, which could be later this year, towards the latter half, right? Towards the latter quarter, I should say, or next year, that's still far off. And who knows, by then, they may not want to. So there's that. But Grayscale seems like it's come and go and not in effect. Today, we still have Janet Yellen that's supposed to talk about stable coins. I don't know what time that's supposed to be, but that's also today. But I don't really expect anything drastic to come out of it. Janet Yellen and FDIC and comptroller and someone else, they're going to speak about stable coins. Basically, it's just the very first meeting of many in regards to how to regulate stable coins. And I think regulating stable coins could actually be a good thing because of tether fears, because of lack of transparency with stable coins, and lack of regulations. Maybe some could be a good thing for stable coins. So I don't really expect that's going to be a big thing. But today, I think obviously what's going on is driven by the broader market. And why is the broader market selling off? Well, this is the other thing I was talking about, is the Delta variant, and it is spreading across the world, mostly in countries that have a large amount of population that has not been vaccinated. So it is spreading, and that's why, Asia started selling off last night. Today, U.S. is selling off. So whether or not this continues, I don't know. I've always said the biggest fear I have, the one thing that I believe can bring Bitcoin down from where it is a broader market sell-off. Something that we experienced last year during March of 2020, right? Not saying that we're going to go anywhere close to that yet, because at that point, I remember Dow sold off 3,000 one day. So we're nowhere close to that, and we had weeks of sell-offs. Can it still happen? Yes, but it's a little early to make that call. And the rest of this week is going to be all earnings and stuff like that. I think earnings will be okay, but it's projected earnings that people are going to look at, whether or not these companies, redo their forecast based on Delta scare and COVID scare. So we'll see. Okay, so that is what's going on right now. In terms of Bitcoin, obviously, as mentioned, it went down a little bit more, 30,700. Grand scheme of things, it went down about less than 1,000 points than last night. Last night was like 31.3, something like that. So a little bit more. Now, some people have been, panicking over Bitcoin for quite some time because there is a lot of FUD, right? Let's remember that our local bottom recently was 28,800, and we had another one around 30,000. So we haven't breached those levels yet. Although we've been stuck between 36 and 31 for quite some time, and right now we're below 31. So we'll just have to see where this goes, right? If we go lower, which could be possible at this point, especially with the broader market sell-off, yes, it could definitely happen, right? But does this mean that Bitcoin is going to stay low and continue to slide and the bull run is over? I still don't buy that. I still don't believe it because there is still a lot of good things happening behind the scenes, and whatever happens will be a temporary setback. That's what I believe. So what should you do about it? Well, you could do one of three things. You could panic sell or just sell and get out of the market or wait for a bottom. You're taking a risk by doing that, but that is an option. Number two, you do nothing. You continue to hold Ling and ignore what's going on. Short-term volatility really means nothing on the long, as a long-time holder, as someone that's investing for a future, short-term volatility is what you really want to ignore. So there's that. Or three, you make sure that you have cash on hand, generate cash on hand to prepare so that if we do see a broader sell-off and we see crypto get pulled with it, well, then you get to take advantage, right? So one of three things, and you just really have to decide what you want to do. All right. Phil is doing a good job moderating. Keep your language. Watch your language, okay? It's like Captain America says, watch your language in this live chat. You don't know who's watching. All right. So let me talk about a few things and then get to this hidden plan for Bitcoin, which I think makes a whole lot of sense. Now, before I get to that, Plan B, tweet this out. Bounce, break, that is the question. I think even Plan B is watching his stock to flow model very carefully. He did say in the past that eventually this will be broken. Eventually. But doesn't mean that it has to be now. But it's hard to ignore the fact that you look at this, there's this, the stock to flow model, right, which is in gray, and then you have these like variations, off from there, and you could see in previous times you do see, Bitcoin fall to the outer edges of it, especially in 2018, 2019, you see it here, right, and then to the edge over here in March. Right now, we're at like the very, very outer edge. We're getting close to there. If we do break out of this will be a first time in history where stock to flow has been invalidated. Whether or not that happens, don't know. This is not the end-all, be-all model, but so far it has done very well projecting Bitcoin and its path, right? So we'll have to see if this, if Bitcoin basically bounces from here or it continues lower. So again, I restate the fact that I think the only thing that's really going to cause Bitcoin to possibly say break out of here and go lower is if the broader market sells off, which I think it could be, it's likely because the overall broader market has been going up and up and up and up for basically the last 12 years, even through a pandemic, and all this money throwing around. It just seems like there could be a point where there's a blow off top and come down, right? But outside of that, I just feel like there's really nothing else that could really drive Bitcoin down from a technical perspective, from a fundamental perspective, from a macro perspective. Everything looks pretty darn good and supports Bitcoin. So outside of a broader market sell-off, I just don't see it. But, we'll see. We'll see what happens later this week, especially with the broader market. All right. So besides this, I talked about Grayscale quite a bit, right? And sometimes this is a good thing. When you look at Twitter and Twitter comments, sometimes you do learn a thing or two. So the CEO of Grayscale goes on CNBC and talks about how they're trying to convert Grayscale Bitcoin Trust into an ETF. And I already talked about that. And someone said in response, his brother manages wealth at JPMorgan. They have the inside scoop. So I decided to look it up. And sure enough, his brother, Doug Sonensen, I think, is working at JPMorgan under wealth management, right? So you got to figure these guys are talking. And we know JPMorgan, they're trying to come out the Bitcoin fund, and they're going to offer to their wealth clients, right? Right here, JPMorgan Wealth Management. So there's definitely a connection there. There's a connection there somehow. So I just want to point that out. Just throwing that out there. All right. Now let's get to this. Okay. We know there's a love and hate relationship. Dave says I just got him fired. I hope not. But anyways, we know there is some kind of, there has to be some kind of connection. But yeah. Just throwing that out there. Anyways, we know there's a love and hate relationship with Tesla and Elon, and it's one of those things. He is such a well-known figure, right? He has the power to sway markets, even though that has been dwindling. Even his constant tweets of Doge no longer pumps Doge anymore, so that's good. But he was example, someone that Michael Saylor talked to, brought him aboard. Tesla still owns about $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin, despite the fact he has been trolling. He shut down payments, Bitcoin payments of Tesla cars. We know Tesla still holds a substantial amount of Bitcoin. And he did say before that once the miners use more than 50% clean energy, he will open up Bitcoin payments once again. Okay, so he has stated this, and I do think that he or his board or BlackRock, whoever, pressured him to do this in the first place because of ESG concerns and other things. Maybe they wanted to buy cheap Bitcoins, okay? And his tweet kind of set things off. Or they knew ahead of time that China was going to kick out all the miners, so they decided to do this early, right? To kind of push things lower before the miners, which also pushed things even lower. Again, maybe they wanted some cheap Bitcoins, right? So here's the thing. So we know that this is already on the table, and guess what? The Bitcoin mining console started by a whole bunch of miners, and Michael Saylor already proved through data that mining is already 56% sustainable. Probably more so now since all the miners closed down in China. Not all, but vast majority have closed down and have moved to other countries. And most other countries are utilizing more sustainable energy. So this number could be even higher. Okay? So this is already basically proven. And guess what's coming this week? The B word. The B word. This is coming 2 days on Wednesday. I've already talked about it. I looked at their website. Now they have added Elon as a guest speaker. This wasn't here. I just showed you guys this, I think, a day or two ago, and Elon was not here. Okay? And so they've added him in. And this is because there was a conversation between Jack and Elon, and Jack basically baited Elon to participate so they could talk about Bitcoin, right? Obviously, the main topic is going to be about Bitcoin mining. And they already have facts that Bitcoin mining is above 56%. And this is why I'm connecting the dots. Guess what? Tesla, they're going to report their earnings next week, the 26th. Right? So this is 1 week before their earnings call. So think about this. On Wednesday when this conference goes on, right? guess what? Jack and Kathy and everyone else is going to go on board and talk about mining, and then basically say, well, Bitcoin mining, right, is using renewable energy already, and it's increasing, and most of the miners are out of China. And guess what may happen? Well, Elon's just going to say, well, that's interesting. I didn't know there was so much advancement. Guess what? I'll announce that I'm going to open up Bitcoin payments once again. And guess what that's going to do? That's going to cause Bitcoin to start rallying up. And how does that help? Well, then during the earnings call, they could say, well, Bitcoin is still in the green. Even though Bitcoin accounting is still weird, they're still probably going to have to take a loss somehow. But at least it looks better if the Bitcoin that they have on hand is in the green and not in the red, right? Because he kind of self-induced that. Because it would be horrible to report that they have, all this Bitcoin losses. So there you go. This is the perfect time for it. While Bitcoin is low, right? And while this conference is set for this week, 1 week before Tesla earnings call, right? So you do the math. I think we're going to see something come out of this. I think Elon is going to come out impressed and say that, okay, I've been convinced. I'm going to open up Bitcoin payments again, and this will probably cause a good rally and could drive things much higher, especially at these low levels around 30,000, right? And it's going to help Tesla, and it's going to help everyone else too. So that's my theory. I think the timing of it is perfect. The timing of it is perfect. And it just makes a whole lot of sense. Now, to play devil's advocate, none of this could happen, okay? And the worst case scenario is this, that during earnings call, Tesla will announce, hey, we're selling off our Bitcoin because we just no longer believe in it, and we're selling it off, which is a possibility, I'll say that, but I just find that very, 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 very unlikely. Very unlikely. I still think that Elon is a smart man. He knows what he's doing, and I do think that he believes in Bitcoin more than holding on cash on hand, and he believes that cryptocurrencies is here to stay, despite all his trolling and everything. I think he's much smarter than he appears on Twitter, that's for sure. So there is that possibility, and the naysayers will probably point to the second, but I'm pointing to the first. I think this was all a ploy to get Bitcoin to come down, to buy some cheap Bitcoins, and when things come back up, it's going to be good for those people that bought in low, right? That's what I think. All right. So with that said, that's pretty much it, everything I want to talk about. Obviously, if you look at entire market, the market cap has gone down a little bit, 1.26 trillion. Bitcoin dominance surprisingly did not really move, 45%. Again, today's sell-off, I say sell-off lightly because it's just a few hundred points. It's not tremendous. In fact, it's about 2% for Bitcoin, right? So today's sell-off is actually about equal. You have a lot of altcoins that's kind of staying aligned with Bitcoin, and I do think today's sell-off is basically due to the broader market, and it's still looking pretty ugly. So if you look at negative 2.4%, negative 2.3%, pretty correlated at this point. All right, that's it. Let's do some Q&A. Buford said Elon is also trolling the SEC. He is. He does not care or respect the SEC at all. He really does not. But anyways, and you look at the ID3 of Volkswagen, it's not out in the US, but I did review the ID4, and I think it's a decent EV car. It's decent, but the Mach-E, Ford Mach-E is better, but it's also more expensive. And yeah. Let's see. All right, I'm scrolling down, making sure I don't miss anything. Triple R says, we've basically been given a crypto time machine. Everything's at a discount. Like the saying goes, use it or lose it. I mean, I've said that before, and that's correct. You look at where things are now, we've been reset by about 5 or 6 months, right? Basically to the start of the new year. So for people that missed out on all the gains, right? This is basically like you got in a time machine and you roll back 6 months before the tremendous gains, right? So that's a really accurate way to look at things. Legit Killer says going to be great for Tesla's earnings report. I do think so. I mean, you got to realize Cathie Wood, and I mentioned this many times, she's been the biggest supporter of Tesla. Arguably the one person that has supported Tesla all these years and have helped it get to where it is now. There's been many, many dire periods for Tesla. And the one person and the one company that kept buying more and more Tesla and caused others to FOMO in is Cathie Wood, right? So you got to think Elon right now has to be trying to figure out a way how to please her and ARK, who is a big investor in Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, and also they do hold Bitcoins themselves. So you got to think that there's some kind of connection. They're talking. They're trying to figure out what to do, right? And this earnings play, I think, makes a whole lot of sense. And we'll see. We'll see after Wednesday. Only 2 days. Vince says, good work. Thank you. Yona says, please be positive and start calling Elon by his real name and not Elon for being salty. It's not going to help our cause. Yes, it's childish, but still, I think it's fitting. You know, I got really pissed off. It's okay if he declared what he did, okay? That's fine. But I got really pissed off when I saw him trolling like Michael Saylor and everyone in the Bitcoin space because he thought it was funny. To him, trolling these prominent people is funny. He was trying to troll Jack too. And Jack threw it back at him and told him to have the talk. So Jack actually threw that back at him and forced him to come on this. Or at least it appeared that way, right? So that's what really pissed me off. But you know, in terms of outside of Bitcoin, I gotta say, Tesla is dominating the EV space. No one is close, despite what all these articles and what everyone else saying. No one is close to matching Tesla in terms of EV, or in rockets, I guess. Fear and greed index bottom. You know what? I didn't check crypto. If I could spell crypto, and I can't. Where is it at today? 24. It's probably going to change because it was 19 and then 24. Probably haven't been updated. 6 hours. It's probably going to go lower. Or it's not. But yesterday I had a good chart that actually charted this and shows you that this clump right here, right? This is a pretty good buying indicator or bottom indicator, but we'll see. Kevin. All right. I just missed it. Amazon Web Service just released a node for Phantom, something like that. That's pretty good. Do you believe Phantom has what it takes to become one of the big players in crypto? It's early. I like them. They have a lot of traction, but it's early. They need to bring on a lot more dApps, get a lot more traction on board. Change our parkways. Is COVID news just FUD or real? It's real. There's people that from overseas, even James. Oh, by the way, James from Invest Answers, he'll be on the show tonight. And he says he has sisters overseas, and they could tell you that the fears are real. So it's not just media FUD. Chamath as well. Well, he's a big Bitcoin bull. Has been for a while. He's rumored to have more Bitcoins than even Satoshi himself. So I don't know if he sold, but at one point in time, he had over 1 million Bitcoins. So yeah, is he? I don't think he's on this. I don't think he's on this. Please try to bring Kathy Wood to the show, man. I don't think that's gonna happen. Cass, I don't think that's gonna happen. These big financial players, you know, they only go on CNBC or Bloomberg or Yahoo Finance. They're not gonna come on YouTube. But I would love to bring her on. If you watch any of her interviews, she's really down to earth, break things really, really simply for people to understand. So, and she's seen as like the savior for so many companies because she's very transparent and buys all the companies that need help. And a lot of them do really well afterwards, including Tesla. Marcus, I am not. Fruits, appreciate that. Digital King Speech. Yeah, I forget. I do correct myself. I go from Elon to Elon all the time. Tesla and Toyota teaming again. If Tesla provided EV to Toyota, I think Toyota and Tesla would dominate because Toyota is just really, really stubborn. They don't want to go EV. They're still sticking with hybrids and more hybrids and plug-in hybrids, but they're just not going full EV for whatever reason because they're trying to back hydrogen. And it just doesn't make any sense. There's like no hydrogen stations out there. There's like a dozen in California. That's it. Doesn't really do anything. All right. Webmaster, you know, again, I think a lot of it is a ploy. I think you can't take anything Elon says on Twitter seriously. I honestly think he thinks that that's his like release mechanism to just troll and do whatever on Twitter. So you really can't take anything he says seriously. But he is still trying to, you know, pump Doge, trying to make it fast. He's talking about scaling for Doge. You know, hey, if you can make it happen, great. You know, Doge fans will love him. I mean, you know, the reason why Doge pumped up so much is really due to him, and the reason why meme coins exist is because of Doge pumping up. So, yeah. Lotus, Humera, I haven't looked at that yet. Thoughts on Solana? I like Solana, one of the big chains that is doing very well, mostly because, well, they're fast, very fast, 50,000 transactions per second, which is so much faster than Ethereum. It's not even close. But also because they have the full backing of FTX and Alameda. Sam, who's like a, you know, crypto billionaire, he's putting all his money basically in Solana and Solana projects. So that's why Solana has climbed the ranks really, really fast. Recently, they slowed down, but still, they shot up really fast. You can see just 1 year performance, 2,581%. So there you go. Polygon is even more, 3,400%. Wow. And of course, Doge is even more at 5,000. Any thoughts on Link? Any updates? Really, not really. Chainlink to me, Rich, is just like a big cap. I mean, a blue chip. Something that will be around forever. It's definitely necessary. A lot of people use it, but there's just not a whole lot of things exciting. You know, there was some talk about integrating some kind of layer 2 and somehow making it more into more of a full-fledged chain. I just don't see it. Chainlink is just, it's an Oracle, decentralized Oracle network. You need it to draw on data, and that's about it. So, not really. Andrew, appreciate that. Do you like to watch gladiator movies? Well, the first one, Gladiator. I don't know what other Gladiator movies. I watched 300. I love that. And also Spartacus, that show. That was an awesome show, but it ended really badly. But anyways, that is on Netflix now. That's also really, really good. Hey, couple months, 88 says, hey, George, couple months you were talks with Sonny to have an interview. Did it happen or I missed it? I canceled it because I was trying to I canceled all interviews for a while because I was getting burned out, and also I was trying to build out a new studio. Then that studio plans got canceled. Then I shifted my focus to GeorgeCon, which is now also canceled because of what's going on with, again, with COVID and Delta. So many of these projects that I support and talk to, they're overseas, and none of them really want to travel right now. And I think that was a good call because things seems to be getting worse. So, yeah, I may start doing interviews again, like with Sunny, of course, and with others in the space. Um, any books you recommend for crypto? I mean, all the books for crypto is mostly like basic stuff, which you can find online, or you can find like technical analysis stuff, right? I guess the other books is for like how to code if you want to learn different languages, because Ethereum is Solidity, others are different kind of languages. Um, Cardano is like Haskell, I believe. So there's those. I guess it just depends on what you're trying to learn. Any thoughts on ICP? I've always thought ICP was too overhyped. Um, you know, it jumped on every exchange, and then it got to like top 10 or top 5 right away, right? This is where it should be. It's just a promising new blockchain. ICP is more encompassing, it's trying to replace the entire internet, but also doing secure, fast, decentralized manner. But there are some concerns with it, with their ID service, some centralization, not really open source. Their staking is a little bit different based on time. So, it's a work in progress, just like all these other chains, right? I think this is where it should be, like the 20th. Will it recover back up to top 5? It could if it continues to excel and get more dApps and get people to buy in. But right now, I think it's where it should be. I missed the airplane reference. I don't even recall that movie. That's such an old movie. I don't even recall watching it, to be honest. Pat, can you share your thoughts on BDT? Patricia asks. I'm not a fan of BDT. I'm not a fan of anything within the Tron ecosystem. I just don't think there's any unity or harmony, and that's not a pun. I mean, I don't know. Anything in the Tron ecosystem doesn't seem to be working well together. So they're kind of just own separate thing, and I have not kept up with it. There was BDT Live, BitTorrent Live, and they were working on decentralized storage and video streaming and incentivizing people that are downloading to hold BDT for faster downloads. There was a lot of things talked about. I don't know if any of those things actually happened with BTT. All right, that's pretty much it. Overall, if you missed Elon Musk or Tesla's hidden plan or agenda for Bitcoin, I think there's going to be something this week. I think there's going to be something big coming from this B word, and Tesla will probably announce that they're going to open up Bitcoin payments again. Whether or not people really use Bitcoin to buy Tesla, that's not the point. The point is that is very positive and could drive things way up to help their earnings. That's next week, right? So we'll see. We'll have to wait a few days for that. But in the meantime, the broader market is not doing good. The more Delta COVID scare, right? Is this going to continue? A lot of earnings this week. Will they all change their forecast now to become weaker because of what's going on, or it's just a temporary setback, right? So I guess it's early and we'll see. But overall, entire market, sneezed a little bit today, but not too bad. Overall, I don't think it's time to panic. but I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, there's 3 things that you can do. So you have to decide if you go stay or you go leave. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. As always, smash a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys tonight, 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. All right? Have a good one, guys. Bye-bye.